There is a room. In that room, two people sit across from each other. One speaks. The other listens. But something strange happens. The listener starts leaning forward. Their eyes stay locked. Their phone stays in their pocket. They laugh at the right moments. They go quiet at the right moments. And when the conversation ends, they cannot stop thinking about the person who spoke. What happened in that room? Magic? Luck? Good looks? No. What happened was control. Invisible control. The kind Machiavelli wrote about 500 years ago when he said the greatest power is the power others do you and know you have. Welcome to Obscura Psyche. Today we break down the dark art of seduction, not the kind you see in movies, not the kind sold in books with stupid pickup lines. We're talking about real psychological seduction, the kind that makes people think about you when you're not there. The kind that builds obsession without force. The kind that uses silence like a weapon and words like seeds. This is not about being nice. This is about being effective. Let me tell you what most people get wrong. They think seduction is about saying the right thing. So they memorize lines. They practice jokes. They rehearse compliments in the mirror. And then they go out into the world and fail. Why? Because seduction is not in the words. It is in the frame. Machiavelli understood frames better than almost anyone in history. He wrote that perception is reality. If people see you as powerful, you are powerful. If people see you as weak, you're weak. Truth does not matter. Only perception matters. So here is the first law of seduction. You must control the frame before you open your mouth. What is a frame? A frame is the invisible context around every interaction. It answers one question. Who has the power here? Most people enter conversations from a weak frame. They want approval. They want to be liked. They want to impress. That energy leaks out of their body language, their tone, their eyes. And the other person feels it instantly. The frame is set. You are chasing. They are choosing. You already lost. A Machiavellian seducer does the opposite. They enter every interaction assuming respect. Not demanding it. Assuming it. There is a difference. When you demand respect, you reveal you don't have it. When you assume respect, people give it to you automatically. Your body is calm. Your voice is steady. Your eyes do not beg for reaction. This is frame control. Now let me be very clear about something. Frame control is not about being rude or cold. It is about being unmoved. You can smile. You can laugh. You can be warm. But underneath that warmth is a foundation of stone. You do not need this person. You enjoy this person. That difference changes everything. Machiavelli said it is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. But in seduction, the goal is different. The goal is to be wanted, not needed. And being wanted starts with not needing. Here is how this looks in real life. Imagine you walk up to someone at a party. Most people walk up with hopeful energy. Their shoulders are tight. Their smile is too big to talk fast. They fill silence with noise. Why? Because silence scares them. Silence feels like rejection. But a Machiavellian seducer walks up differently. Their steps are slow. Their shoulders are loose. They make eye contact before they speak. And when they speak quietly, not whispering, just low enough that the other person has to focus to hear. This does something to the brain. It creates focus. Focus creates intimacy. And then comes the pause. After the first sentence, they stop. They let the silence sit there for 2 full seconds. Most people panic during this pause. They rush to fill it. But the seducer lets it breathe. Why? Because that pause transfers power. During those 2 seconds, the other person's brain goes into overdrive. They start wondering, did I say something wrong? What are they thinking? Don't they like me? And in that wondering, they start chasing. The frame flips. You are no longer trying to impress them. They are trying to impress you. This is not theory. This is neuroscience. The human brain hates uncertainty. When you create small pockets of uncertainty through pauses, through calm silence, through unreactive body language, the other person's brain tries to resolve it, and the way they resolve it is by seeking your approval. Let me give you the second law of seduction. Never reveal your full hand. Machiavelli wrote that a prince must be like a fox and a lion. The lion shows strength. The fox shows cunning, but the fox never shows all his tricks at once. In seduction, you are the fox. This means you do not tell your whole life story in the first conversation. You do not explain yourself. You do not justify your choices. You reveal in pieces, small pieces, pieces that make the other person want to know more. Here is why this works. The human brain is wired for completion. When we see something incomplete, we want to finish it. When we hear part of a story, we want the ending. When we meet someone mysterious, we want to solve the mystery. So you give them breadcrumbs, not meals. Breadcrumbs. You mention you lived in another country, but you do not say why. You reference a skill, but you do not brag about it. You smile at a private thought, but you do not share it. Each of these moments is a hook, and hooks pull attention back to you even after the conversation ends. Most people do the opposite. They vomit information. They explain everything. They try to prove their worth through facts and stories and accomplishments. And what happens? The other person gets bored. There is no mystery left. No reason to come back. No reason to wonder. Machiavelli said the wise man does in secret what the fool does in public. In seduction, your power is in what you do not say. Now I am going to teach you something specific. Something you can use today. It is called the two-sentence rule. Here is how it works. When someone asks you a question about yourself, you answer in 2 sentences maximum. Then you redirect. Example. They ask, "What do you do for work?" Most people launch into a 5-minute explanation. You say, "I help companies solve problems they did not know they had." "What about you? What kind of work makes you lose track of time?" You answered. But you did not over-explain, and you redirected attention back to them. This does 2 things. First, it keeps mystery alive. Second, it makes them feel heard. People love talking about themselves. When you let them, they associate you with good feelings. But here is the trick. You are not just listening. You are hunting for emotional patterns. Ever wonder why some people are just magnetic, effortlessly drawing others in, while the rest of us struggle? It's not about looks, money, or luck. It's about psychology. And there's a darker, more strategic side to attraction, one inspired by one of history's most controversial thinkers, Nicole. This isn't about love at first sight. It's about power, influence, and the art of seduction as a calculated game. Today, we re-diving deep into the shadows to uncover the psychological leverage points that create an almost irresistible pull. First, let's talk about emotional hooks. Most people try to impress by showing only their best side. The Machiavellian approach is different. It's about creating an emotional roller coaster. You show strength, then vulnerability. You're charming and attentive, then suddenly distant. This is the spike and valley method. The spikes are moments of intense, positive emotion excitement, deep connection, incredible fun. The valleys are periods of absence or emotional distance. This contrast makes the other person crave the highs. They're not just enjoying the good times. They're actively working to get them back, investing more and more of their thoughts and emotions into you. It creates an addiction to your presence. Another powerful tool is the unfinished story. Humans are wired to seek closure. When a story is left incomplete, our brains can't let it go. In conversation, this means artfully leaving things unsaid. Share a personal, intriguing story, but trail off before the conclusion, promising to finish it later. Hint at a past experience or a secret ambition without giving away all the details. This creates an open loop in their mind. They'll be thinking about you, wondering about the rest of the story, and subconsciously seeking you out. To find that closure, you become a puzzle they feel compelled to solve, occupying their mental real estate long after you've gone. Next, we have the power of paradox. Be a walking contradiction. Be gentle but powerful, spiritual but pragmatic, playful but serious. When people can't easily categorize you, they become fascinated. We're used to putting people in neat little boxers. When you defy those boxers, you become unpredictable and intriguing. This isn't about being fake. It's about showcasing the different, often conflicting, facets of your true personality. This complexity makes you seem more authentic and three-dimensional than anyone else they know, turning you from just another person into a captivating enigma. Now, let's address the most potent element. Strategic withdrawal. This is where the power dynamics truly shift. After creating intense connection and intrigue, you pull back, not ghosting, but becoming less available. Your replies are slower. You're busier. This withdrawal does two things. First, it makes them question their standing with you, triggering a fear of loss. Second, it gives them space to idealize you. In your absence, they'll replay your best moments, magnify your positive traits, and fill in the blanks with their own fantasies. When you do re-engage, their appreciation for your attention will be magnified tenfold. You are no longer the pursuer. You are the prize. These methods are undeniably powerful. They tap into the core of human psychology, our desire for connection, our fear of loss, our love for a mystery. But with great power comes great responsibility. Using these techniques to manipulate or harm others will ultimately leave you empty. The true art is to understand these dynamics, not to control, but to create a more profound and compelling connection. It's about being the most unforgettable person in the room, not by being the loudest, but by being the most psychologically astute. Thanks for watching. If you want to explore more about the psychology of influence, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Until next time, what just happened in that moment? You shifted. The energy changed. They were not expecting depth. They were not expecting honesty. And now they are leaning in. Now they are paying closer attention. Because you showed them a different layer. He became three-dimensional. This is the paradox in action. You are fun but deep. Light but intense. Easy to be around, but impossible to fully know. Each layer you reveal makes them want to find more layers. And the secret is this. You always have one more layer they have not seen. Machiavelli understood that power comes from being underestimated and overestimated at the same time. People should see your strength, but never know its full extent. In seduction, they should feel your depth, but never reach the bottom of it. Now I want to talk about something most people are afraid of. Disagreement. Conflict. Saying no. Most people think seduction means being agreeable. They think they need to say yes to everything, laugh at every joke, support every opinion. This is weak frame. And weak frame kills attraction. A Machiavellian seducer is not afraid to disagree. In fact, disagreement is a tool. When you disagree calmly and confidently, you prove you are not trying to impress them. You prove you have standards. You prove you think for yourself, and that is attractive. Here is how you do it without being rude. Someone says something you disagree with. Most people either nod along or start an argument. You do neither. You pause. You look at them, and you say, "I see it differently." Then you explain your view in 2 or 3 sentences. Calm. Clear. No emotion. No attack. Just a different perspective. What happens next is important. If they respect you, they will engage. They will ask why you think that way. They will debate with you. And debate creates intensity. Intensity creates chemistry. Chemistry creates attraction. If they get defensive or angry, you will stay calm. You do not match their energy. You let silence do the work. You wait, and in that silence, they realize they are overreacting. They realize you are not rattled, and your calm in the face of their emotion makes you appear stronger, higher value, more grounded. Machiavelli wrote, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. When you stay calm during conflict, you appear unshakable. And people are drawn to what feels solid in a chaotic world." Let me give you the 5th law of seduction. Use your body as a second language. Words are important, but your body speaks louder than your mouth. Machiavelli knew this. He wrote that a leader must control not just his words, but his expressions, his gestures, his entire presence. In Seduction, Your body is constantly communicating. The question is whether you control that communication or it controls you. Here are the specific body language principles that create psychological dominance. First, slow down. Most people move too fast. They fidget. They shift weight. They tap their fingers. All of this communicates nervousness. Nervousness communicates low value. You move like you have time. You turn your head slowly when someone speaks. You pick up your drink with intention. You walk at 70% speed. Why? Because powerful people are never rushed. Rushed behavior signals you are reacting to the world. Slow behavior signals the world reacts to you. Second, take up space. But do it naturally. Sit back in your chair. Let your arms rest wide. Stand with your feet shoulder-width apart. You are not shrinking. You are not folding into yourself. You exist fully in the space you occupy. This is called expansive body language, and research shows it increases confidence in both you and the person observing you. Third, limit your reaction. When someone says something surprising or funny or shocking, you do not jump. You do not gasp. You smile slightly. You nod once. You give them a look that says, "Interesting." This restraint creates mystery. It makes them wonder what you are thinking, and wondering keeps attention on you. Fourth, use eye contact like a scalpel. Not a hammer. You do not stare. Staring is aggressive and weird. You hold eye contact for 3 to 5 seconds. Then you look away slowly. Not down. Down signals submission. You look to the side or up slightly. Then you return eye contact. This pattern creates comfort and intensity at the same time. When you want to emphasize something important, you lock eyes right before you say it. You hold the gaze. You speak the words. Then you look away. This plants the message deep in their subconscious. The eye contact tells their brain, pay attention. This matters. Fifth, control your hands. Nervous people hide their hands or move them constantly. Confident people keep their hands visible and still. When you gesture, you do it below shoulder height. Smooth movements. Purposeful. Not wild. Not erratic. Every movement should look like it was planned even when it was not. Now here is an advanced move. The strategic touch. Touch is the fastest way to build intimacy, but it must be done correctly. You do not grab. You do not linger. You touch briefly and naturally. A hand on the shoulder when you laugh. A light tap on the arm when you make a point. These micro-touches create comfort and familiarity. But here is the key. You touch, and then you pull back. You create the sensation, and then you remove it. This is the same principle as the spike and valley. Give them a taste, then take it away. Their nervous system registers the touch. Their brain wants more. But you are already 3 steps back, talking about something else. The want stays inside them. Unfulfilled want creates obsession. Machiavelli said, "The lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. One must therefore be a fox to recognize traps and a lion to frighten wolves." Your body language is how you show both. The fox is in your controlled movements and strategic touches. The lion is in your stillness and your space. Let me teach you about the silence technique. This is one of the most powerful tools in seduction, and most people are too afraid to use it. Here is how it works. You are in conversation. They finish speaking, and instead of responding immediately, you wait 3 full seconds. You look at them. You breathe. You let the silence sit. Most people cannot handle this. They will start talking again. They will fill the void. They will explain themselves. They will try harder to impress you. Why? Because silence creates pressure, and pressure reveals truth. But sometimes they stay silent too. They hold your gaze. They wait to see what you will do. When this happens, you smile slightly, and then you speak. But you speak slower than before, quieter than before. You make them lean in to hear you. What you just did with that silence was test their frame. You created pressure to see if they would break. If they broke, you know they are chasing your approval. If they held strong, you know they have some. Either way, you learned something valuable. And information is power. Machiavelli wrote, "The first method for estimating the intelligence of a ruler is to look at the men he has around him." In Seduction, the first method for estimating someone's interest is to see how they respond to your silence. Dote panique. Do they fill space with noise? Or do they sit comfortably in the quiet with you? Their response tells you everything. Now let me give you this sixth law of seduction. Plant seeds in their imagination. The most powerful seduction happens inside someone's mind when you are not even there. This is what Machiavelli meant when he talked about controlling perception. You do not need to be physically present to have influence. You need to be mentally present, and you become mentally present by planting thoughts that grow on their own. Here's how you do this. You use hypothetical language. You say things like, imagine if we, or what would happen if, or I wonder what it would be like to. These phrases trigger visualization, and when someone visualizes something with you in it, their brain starts to believe it is possible. Possibility becomes desire. Desire becomes action. Example, you are talking about travel. Instead of saying, I want to go to Japan, you say, imagine walking through Kyoto at sunrise. Just silence and temples and that cold morning air. I wonder what that does to a person. You did not invite them, but their brain just pictured themselves there. With you, in that moment, you planted a seed. Or you are talking about a quiet evening. You say, you know what I think is underrated? Just sitting with someone without needing to talk. Just being comfortable in the same space. Most people cannot do that. Again, you planted a seed. Their brain is now imagining sitting in comfortable silence. With you, these seeds work because they bypass resistance. You are not asking for anything. You are not pushing. You are just describing a possibility, a feeling, an experience. And the brain loves experiences. It grabs them, so it holds on to these images. And later, when they are alone, those images come back, and you come back with them. Machiavelli understood that the greatest victories are won before the battle begins. In seduction, the greatest progress happens in the hours between your interactions. When they are lying in bed thinking about what you said. When they are replaying a moment in their mind. When they check their phone hoping you texted. You are not there, but you are everywhere. Here is the seventh law of seduction. Never be fully available. Ever. This is hard for most people because they think availability shows interest. They think responding fast shows they care. But availability kills mystery. And mystery is the foundation of obsession. Think about it. The things you want most are the things you cannot have easily. The reservation at the restaurant that is always booked. The concert tickets that sold out. The job that only interviews 5 people. Scarcity creates value. Your time is scarce. Your attention is scarce. And because it is scarce, it is valuable. So you build scarcity into your behavior. You do not answer every text immediately. Sometimes you wait, not to play games, but because you genuinely have things to do. You have a life. You have priorities. And those priorities do not stop just because someone messaged you. When you do respond, you are present. You are engaged. You give quality, but you do not give constant access. Constant access makes you common, and common is not seductive. Machiavelli wrote, men are driven by 2 principal impulses, either by love or by fear. In seduction, you create a third impulse. The fear of loss, not fear of you. Fear of losing access to you. This fear makes people value your presence more. It makes them work to keep your attention. An effort creates investment. Investment creates attachment. Let me teach you the callback technique. This is how you create continuity across multiple interactions. You reference something from a previous conversation. Something small. Something they might have forgotten they told you. And you bring it up naturally. Example. 2 weeks ago, they mentioned they have a presentation at work. You text them, how did that presentation go? They are surprised you remembered. Why? Because most people do not listen. Most people wait for their turn to talk. But you've listened. You remembered. And now You've proved it. This does something powerful. It shows you pay attention. It shows they matter to you. But more importantly, it shows you have a good memory. And people with good memories are seen as intelligent and trustworthy. You just elevated your value without bragging about anything. Another example, they mention they love old bookstores. 3 conversations later, you say, I passed this bookstore today. Looked like it was from the 1950s. Made me think of you. You did not take them there. You did not make a big gesture. You just showed that they crossed your mind. And being thought of when you are not around is one of the deepest forms of intimacy. Now I want to talk about vulnerability. Real vulnerability. Not fake vulnerability. Most people think vulnerability means sharing problems or weaknesses randomly. They think it means complaining or trauma dumping. That is not vulnerability. That is emotional vomit, and it repels people. Real vulnerability is controlled disclosure of something true at the right moment. Machiavelli said, a prince ought to show himself a patron of ability and to honor the proficient in every art. In seduction, you honor depth by offering it strategically. Here is how you do it. You wait for a moment of real connection. A quiet moment, a moment after laughter or after deep conversation. And then you say something honest, something you do not say to most people. Not something tragic, just something real. Example. I used to think being alone meant being lonely. Took me years to realize they are not the same thing. Now I actually protect my alone time. That is vulnerable. It is honest. It shows self-awareness. But it is not desperate. It is not asking for comfort. It is just truth. When you offer this kind of vulnerability, something shifts. They feel honored. They feel like they are seeing a side of you that is rare, and rare things are treasured. But here is the trick. You offer it once, then you move on. You do not dwell. You do not explain further. You let it land, and then you shift the conversation. This creates another open loop. They want to know more. They want to understand that side of you better. But you already moved on, so they hold on to it. They think about it later, and thinking about you later is the entire goal. Machiavelli wrote, wise men say, and not without reason, that whoever wishes to foresee the future must consult the past. In seduction, your past moments together become the foundation for future desire. Every conversation, every pause, every vulnerability, every callback, they stack, they build, they create a narrative in their mind where you are the main character. Welcome back to Obscura Psyche, where we delve into the hidden corridors of human behavior. Today, we continue our journey into the Machiavellian art of seduction, exploring the potent strategies of laws 8, 9, and 10. These aren't just tactics, they are profound psychological keys that unlock attraction. Let's begin with Law 8. Stir up transgressive and taboo emotions. This law operates on a simple truth. Forbidden fruit tastes sweetest. We are all drawn to the thrill of the unknown, the allure of crossing boundaries. When you create an atmosphere where it feels like you and another person are partners in a delightful secret, you build a powerful, exclusive bond. This isn't about breaking rules for the sake of it. It's about creating a shared experience that feels unique and slightly rebellious. A private world just for two. Think of it as sharing a secret glance in a crowded room. That small act creates an instant connection, setting you apart from everyone else. This shared secrecy builds a bubble of intimacy that is intensely magnetic. Now, let's move to Law 9. Appear to be an object of desire. Create triangles. This is the contrast principle in action. Your value doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's perceived relative to others. When others desire you, your perceived worth skyrockets. This is the power of social proof. Imagine 2 identical items in a store. One is untouched, while the other has a crowd around it. Which one seems more valuable? The one everyone else wants. By creating these triangles of desire, you make yourself the prize to be won. People are naturally competitive, and the thought that they might lose you to someone else can ignite a powerful drive to win your attention and affection. It's about being desirable, not just available. Finally, we arrive at Law 10. Use the demonic power of words to sow confusion. Words are not just for communication. They are for creation. With them, you can build worlds, paint futures, and stir emotions. This law has two critical components. First, leave room for pursuit. Never give everything away at once. Maintain an air of mystery. When you're slightly vague, or your answers invite more questions, you compel the other person to think about you, to try and figure you out. This mental investment is a powerful form of seduction. You occupy their thoughts, becoming a puzzle they desperately want to solve. The second part is future projection. Use your words to paint a vivid, enticing picture of a future with you. Talk about adventures you could have, places you could go, experiences you could share. This isn't about making false promises. It's about creating a shared dream. When someone can vividly imagine a happy future with you, they become emotionally invested in making that future a reality. They start to see you not just as a person in their present, but as a vital part of their desire tomorrow. Now, a crucial word on ethics. These techniques are powerful psychological tools. Like any tool, they can be used to build or to break. The goal of mastering these laws is not to manipulate or harm, but to understand the deep currents of human desire and connection. True mastery lies in using this knowledge with integrity to create genuine, exciting, and respectful relationships. The aim is not to control another person, but to become so compelling and self-aware that others are naturally drawn to you. It's about self-mastery first. Understand your own desires, your own value, and your own power. When you operate from a place of self-possession and respect, these laws become instruments of profound connection, not deception. Use them to enhance attraction, not to exploit it. The art of seduction, at its core, is the art of psychology. It's about understanding what makes people tick, what they secretly long for, and how to create a connection that feels both magical and real. It's about becoming the architect of your own allure. Thank you for joining us on this exploration. If you want to continue mastering the art of influence and understanding the deeper aspects of the human mind, make sure to subscribe to Obscure Psyche. Hit that bell icon so you don't miss our next video. Until next time, stay curious.